Hey, everybody. Welcome to a GFNTV presentation. I'm Nicole Franklin, and I'm the artistic director and curator of a very cool program called Indie Fuxion. That's Fusion with an X. And we're on the streaming network GFNTV with Fusion with an X for Global Fuxion Network TV, and it champions inclusive entertainment. So that's diverse entertainment in some parts of the country, urban in other parts of the country. Global Fuxion Network is powered by Fuse Advertising, by two guys I've known a very long time. And Mike Franklin, Executive Vice President of GFN TV, had asked me if I could curate a showcase mainly women and that it would be international. And I'm like, no problem, because that's my colleagues and friends throughout the years. So I'm so proud to have a supportive network in that I've known these incredible filmmakers for a long time, and we're bringing them to you for free for a month through December 15th. And so these films are bold and fearless and from women and non-binary artists, and they just champion being unapologetic about who we are as a community as well. So, as a woman who reps my community, I gotta say that since grade school, I watched a man named Tim Reid rep his community so well. He was like one of my idols. And so it's so cool to have our chat with him tonight. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions. So I'm going to bring in my fellow filmmaker and friend, Tanya McCornell. Tanya, come on in, and she's going to be the one who for your questions today. So there you are. And tell us about your film that's in our showcase, Tanya.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Mr. Reid. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for including me here. I made a film called Travia, and it is about police brutality. It was named after Trayvon Martin, and I had been blocked on certain parts of the film that I wanted to create. But then after the Philando Castile verdict or the acquittal came out in 2017, the block cleared. And I was like, we need to make this film. We're going to do it, represent. I just felt like it was a nice way to use my voice and tell this story.
Yeah, and that's who we are. I mean, an inspiration like that, to take that, flip it over, and tell the story that way would not go too well on mainstream channels. So streaming channels like GFN TV is where it's at, because that's who's going to support us and other filmmakers that are going to follow down that road, outside
Absolutely.
of fear and doing what we know how to do best. So we break the rules, just like Tim Reid broke rules. I remember WKRP in Cincinnati, he broke the rules as Venus Flytrap with those outfits. And then when I had graduated college, I was looking for more of his work. And then he directed this feature-length film, Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, that was just so beautiful and epic. Beautiful. Intergenerational storytelling. So then we got Frank's Place that everyone's crazy about still. I mean, TV Guide listed it as ranked it as canceled too soon. Yes, we all agree.
Definitely.
But now he's on GFN TV too, with a brand new network, of course, because he can't stop. Legacy of a People Network. So that's made its debut on GFN TV as well. So he's here tonight to talk about it all, everyone. And maybe we'll finally squash that debate about who had the first Black studio. I don't know. Let's see. Welcome, Mr. Reid.
Welcome. And no debate. Oscar Michaud and the Noble brothers and Spencer Williams. There were so many Blacks who owned studios back in the day. I was the follow-up with a studio, not since '52, when Oscar Michaud died. No one had done it until I did it in 99, I guess it was 1999. But other than that, we're following in the footsteps of some incredible visionaries. And so it's not about who's first, it's about who's doing it and who's doing it well, who takes the risk.
Oh, you took a lot of risk, and yes, those pioneers, amazing. We're here talking, let's just say it, in the fall of 2020 at a very historic time, and a lot of people are turning to art to make them feel normal again and human again with everything that's going on. I mean, just tell us about being an artist during this time of crisis.
Well, I'm a storyteller. I was bred a storyteller out of the long lines of griots. I was a young kid. I was told by my grandmother, I was raised by women, or some people say raised by wolves. And they were very dynamic women, independent women, strong, fierce women. And they told me then, when I was about 10 years old, they would say, "You tell the story, Junior. You tell the story, Junior." And I'd come home from church and they say, "Junior, what happened to church?" And they would sit around and I
Mhm.
would have to act out and tell the story. So I was groomed at a very early age by a bunch of powerful women, and it never left me, no matter what I was doing. I started out as a still photographer, and I just love, even to this day. I mean, when I get frustrated or angry, I grab a camera and a muse, and I say, "Let's shoot." You
Mm.
know, I love that part of creativity. So when this happened, I just returned from Ethiopia where I was working on a project, and I landed, and literally 2 weeks later, we were in lockdown with this crazy thing called COVID-19. And I've always been taught that when things are difficult, when you need money or you need friends, you need whatever it is you need, be creative.
Mm.
We have to understand, especially people of the African diaspora, that the way out for us is to create, not to work, not to follow. It is to create the moment, to create. So I've actually refused to accept the reality of the dominant culture.
Mhm.
Yes, there is a pandemic happening and one has to be safe, but I was told to do what they're telling the world to do now by my grandmother when she said, "Wash your hands, don't sneeze open, put your hand over your mouth, be all those things that she said now saves lives, believe it or not."
Yes.
So when that happened, I decided I could sit home like everyone else and binge watch television, which I did to a certain extent. But I realized there wasn't much content that related to my culture,
Mm.
to my
Mm.
dreams, my aspirations. And so I'm sitting there and going, what a hell of a time to create a network, because the giant is asleep. I mean, everybody's being affected by this. So the studios were shutting down and the big production systems were shutting down. Nobody's going to call me to work as an actor or producer or director. So I said, let's get busy. I got a lot of content. One of the advantages of owning a studio is that you control your intellectual property rights. And
Yes.
I have a lot of content that I've accumulated over the years, a lot of it evergreen, because my main hobby, of course, is doing documentaries. So I decided to put together this network. And what would I call it? The legacy of a people. We have a slogan. It's not just a network, it's who we are.
Mhm.
And I have these friends that I have been working with for the last 12 years, young filmmakers that I grabbed when they were some in college, taking classes. And I got tired of them coming to my studio looking for jobs and they had no skills.
Mm.
But they all claim to be directors and producers. And I said, "Show me what you produce." And they go, "Well, I haven't done it yet." I said, "Well, then why would I hire you?" "Well, I'm good." I said, "I don't know that until you do it." "Well, how am I going to get paid?" I don't know, not my problem. But if you want to come and hang out here with me and a group of other people, we will work and you and will learn your craft based on doing reality training. And I started that and it left there and it went to London. I worked with the British Film Institute for like 6 years, going over there every year. I began to bring people back from Europe, from Africa here, and then I would go there in Nigeria and South Africa and Ethiopia in particular quite a bit. And I now have this group of associates, young filmmakers who are beyond, they're professionals now. They're making award winning products. And I said, "Guys, would you support me? I can't count on the American Black folk because we have a tendency, we're still in that crab in the barrel syndrome. We really have a difficult time working together. But on the continent of Africa, 1.3 billion people, there is a eagerness
Mhm.
in Ghana and Ethiopia to work, and they really are interested in the American way of how to do, especially in our media, in the media business, because they were behind. They didn't have the opportunities to be exposed to these trends. So we found a way to work together, and their material is on my network, and most of it will be I'm bringing. And also, we're finding great talent. I got a young lady from South Africa who is doing something that nobody's doing right now. Where is a Black woman in an evening late night talk show? There are none.
Right.
And not that they aren't qualified, it's just the networks aren't doing it. So I put on the Theta Show, a young, very talented comic. I saw her about 5 years ago when I was in Johannesburg work, and I was blown away by her comedy as well as her musical talents. And I said, I'm gonna give you a show. Would you want to do it? Yeah. So we'll have 8 to 10 episodes of that by the end of a few months. And
All right.
so to me, it's I wouldn't. Not that I'm that the pandemic was an upside to me. There's always a downside, but through it, I go back to what my grandmother told me: when you're in trouble, create something. Don't just sit there. Do something, even if it's wrong. Do something.
But creating an entire network, okay, it would seem daunting.
And it
to
is.
most.
And it is. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot more daunting than I wanted my point in my career and age. However, what else is there? Well, I sit home and watch, horrible news keep running and telling us the story about this madman. I'm not interested. That's their reality. So create your own reality. And so my reality now is that I put my money and my interests and my focus and the few friends that are able to work with me and my associate, and we're creating a network. It will work or it won't work. What else I got to do?
I think it'll work.
Yeah.
I got to tell you though, and I'm gonna call people out.
Mhm.
One of my pet peeves is that U.S. audiences, Black audiences, we don't support our indies.
Yeah. No, of course not.
And
They
I
don't want to be
don't,
cool helping you because the man might get mad.
is that what it is? Because I can't figure it out. I'd love to figure it out. So now I need to travel more to the continent and get my audience to come back, and
Not
maybe
only
just
that-
stay there and create. I mean, I don't
You have
know how we solve this. I mean, other than
won't.
what you did.
You
Okay.
won't solve it. But you forget there are 25 million Caribbeans.
Yes.
Not too far from here. I just today negotiated a deal with a dear friend in Trinidad in animation, and they work all over the Caribbean. I'm working out of Kenya, out of Ghana. We focus, not only us, the entire advertising music world focuses on what 42 million people of African descent here in America. It's probably more, but we don't all take the census. But as my grandma said, tell them we ain't home.
All the secrets are coming out tonight, everybody.
Yeah. So let's just say there's 45 million of us here in this country. Some vote, some don't.
Yeah.
But that's a sizable audience. But there's so many people going after it and going for it, the sponsors and all that stuff. I tend to travel a great deal. That's why I don't have a Maybach, because I spend my money traveling. And when I travel, I realize there are about 8 million or so or more people of African descent spread over Europe, Asia, everywhere. People of African descent travel a lot more than Black Americans. Nigerians, where you will go anywhere, you'll find a Nigerian with a blanket selling incense and knockoff Louis Vuittons.
Okay.
And also on the pillow, on that blanket, you'll find his movies. The movies that have
Yes.
come over in the same container cargo. That's why Nigeria is the second most prolific filmmaking country in the world.
Don't sleep on it. Yeah.
I'm telling you, they have a system that works in distribution. They never followed our theory of lack of victimization. They followed, I'm selling oils, I'm selling Louis Vuittons. I guess I can put a movie in that container cargo, and somebody in Nigeria, a Nigerian diaspora will see it and go, hey, brother, you got one of them movies from the latest? Yeah. Multi-billion-dollar industry. And the system is so different than anything else. Same thing with East India. We seem to, in America, are locked into the psychology of you must follow the system's structure. The reality of the business. Yes, it's difficult. It's rare that anybody in the system can greenlight a project that's Black. Only a few people. And even those people who are very fortunate and very talented and have incredible companies still are being run by or controlled by. They don't own the intellectual property rights So they can't get a bank to give them 70 cents to 60 cents on the dollar for every dollar that this film may gross over a year or 2 or 5. So they can't finance big budgets. They can't because they don't control intellectual property rights. So the system here we follow. I say to hell with the system. System is not feeding us. The system, yeah, we have actors who are making a great deal of money. I am so pleased to see it. When I started out and was on television, you get all of the actors who were making any kind of money in a van. Now there are thousands of incredible actors making wonderful material, but that's not the game anymore for me. I'm not looking to be the next ingenue, old, young, or any way. I'm looking to be someone who controls the story, who distributes to the audiences that it seeks. In order to do that, you must have a network. You must have control your intellectual property rights. You there? Oh, I'm back. Okay, yeah. You must. I guess I said too much. You must.
Yeah, who's watching and knocking us off the air? Come on.
You must be connected with someone like GFNTV or find a platform that has its own connection with advertisers and sponsors, because it's a triad. You first have to own and control your intellectual property rights, be a storyteller. You must have a distribution channel or platform. And the third is you must be connected to people who want to advertise to other people, your audience. In my case, I'm looking for sponsors who want to reach the 1.3 billion people who are on the continent of Africa. And yes, some smitherings of the Americans and 20 million Caribbeans. Those are the people that I'm aiming this network for, because I know they don't get as much content. Although Netflix is trying to buy up every black thing that they can find on the continent.
Yes, I've noticed.
Oh yeah, and Canal Plus. I was in a bidding war with Canal Plus for a project in Ethiopia, and I was amazed because they were really fighting. I'm saying, but French people don't like black Africans. They're chasing them out of the country, but yet they're buying up their content in large numbers, and they're creating black channels for Africa. All of the French-speaking African countries, colonialized countries, are a big audience for them, millions of people. So they are smart. I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. They're smart. We've got to be smart. We got to be in that battle, and we either, if we come together, we'll be stronger. If we don't, it's going to take people like you and I to do what we have to do. I'm not interested in leading the way. I don't care if anybody follows me. I want to be successful at what I'm doing.
Well, let's talk quality in our content. So when you first stepped behind the camera, was that you making the ask or a mentor saying, come do this, I recognize your talent, or come do this, I'll show you the ropes?
People have been trying to stop me from doing what I'm doing. No, it wasn't that. I was doing KRP as an actor. It was my first. I had done a lot of pilots. I had a lot of pilots. I did so many pilots. I think I was qualified to fly an airplane. But I never really hit on a long-running television series. I'd been on 6 episodes, successful shows, but never long. So when I got KRP, I was awakened to the incredible potential and the power of story and the power of imaging. And I was given an opportunity by my late mentor and friend, Hugh Wilson, who was a Southern white guy out of Atlanta. And he and I somehow clicked at a totally different, but on a creative level. We had our odds on any other racial level or any other level, but on a creative level, we were in sync. We were like, we really were. And he said, what do you want? I said, I want to control my image. I want to be able to, I said, I rarely see on television anybody who looked like anyone in the community in which I grew up. Now, I grew up in an all-black community. I'm old school. I grew up in Color Town. I didn't speak socially or work for a white person until I was a freshman in college. I was completely black. My doctor, my dentist, my everything. Where we shopped at Baker's Grocery, everything was black. I had was 7 movie theaters in walking distance of my home, run or owned by black people. So there was the only white people we saw was a guy who was the insurance man who come down to collect 5 or 10 cents for the policy. That was it. And then on Friday, 1st and 15th, because I lived in a Navy town, Norfolk, Virginia, the Navy ships would come in, or NATO would come in, and you see all these foreigners and white guys down in our black community going to the bars trying to change their luck. That was the extent of it. So when I left and went to college and got involved in the civil rights movement, I came from it with a different way. I didn't have a victimization syndrome. I came from warrior stance. So when I went to Hollywood, this was after I graduated, a few years after working for DuPont. I was the first black hired by DuPont in their management training program. And I came to Hollywood and I went, hey, I know this battlefield. This is the same battlefield I have in Norfolk. This is how I use the same technique, the same tactics. And so when I got into television, I realized the power. I said, this is powerful. Now, okay, I'm a storyteller. If I can learn how to use this power, I can get some of my propaganda out. So I then went to Hugh and I said, I want to write a couple episodes, racially based. And he gave me the opportunity. He said, I'm not only going to let you write them, I'm going to let you you go through the entire process of production to deliver to the network. Oh. So I went through the whole thing. I sat there with the whole system, delivered it to the net. I went over and saw them put it on the reel to satellite it up to New York and all of that. So it was that training that made me understand more and more that I wanted to write. So I wrote for almost every show after that. Then I didn't direct much television stuff until I did my own series. But prior to that, I realized its power. So that's what's driven me all this time, is how to use this. The most powerful force man-made on the planet is media.
I believe it. Not science.
The most powerful force on this planet. It's more powerful than guns. You know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. That's why we feel the way we do about ourselves.
Look at the man who's this madman who's in power. It's the media that he gets his strength from. People fear him because of his media strength. That's true. And unless you really understand the power of media, gosh, there was a great movie that sort of mirrored. It was a prophecy called A Face in the Crowd, starring Andy Griffith. People should look at that movie again. It was done, I think, back in the late 50s, early 60s, called Face in the Crowd.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. It was as a matter of fact, it was a prophecy. We're living that movie now.
Oh my gosh. So, but you have this great constitution about you, and I'm just wondering, when Frank's Place was not renewed, what was your first reaction?
The thing I always do, I'm a warrior. I fought and I attacked the system, and I used the system to try to find some measure, wasn't a compromise, some measure of reward. You see, most people don't know that Frank's Place was picked up for a second season.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were literally a day before shooting the first episode of the second season when we were canceled. And when we were canceled, we were #3 in America in reruns. And so it wasn't.
It makes me sick to hear that.
It wasn't canceled because of time and all. It was political. It was a power move. And I'm going to go into it in my book. But as we put that together, but
okay,
it was a power move, and to show the power of media. And you do not, when you control the power, you don't let anyone, I don't care who they are, attack your power. And we made an error, and I fought against my partner at that time not to do this particular show. But I understood his heart. And at some point you have to, even though you know that the consequences are going to be difficult, you have to look at the person, you have to weigh what that person means, not only to you, but what you have done together. And this particular episode was in his heart. And I never fight anyone who's fighting from the heart. You got to be real careful. You want them on your side. If you trap somebody and you can look in their face and you can see this or die, you got to make a decision. Do you continue to fight? Because it's to die. Well, I looked at him. He really, in his spirit and his soul, had to write this episode. But I knew it was going to be iffy and going to be difficult. I knew it was going to be consequences. And it was. And it was the reason we were canceled. And so when that happened, I was very angry. And I knew it had been, had nothing to do with, quote, show business. So I marched over to CBS. And before I did, I called a friend of mine who's no longer with us. And he was a friend who a lot of people didn't like in Hollywood. I got along with him very well. He was running the NAACP Hollywood chapter. His name was Willis Edwards.
Okay.
And Willis Edwards he could be a bit of a chance to work with him. You never know, Willis.
You need that. You need those Willises out there.
Yeah, Willis was like, depending on your ability to work with him. But he always respected me, and I respected him. So I called him up. I said, Willis, I said, I'm going over to CBS to talk to the president, the guy who was running the network then, Tim Masters. I said, I'm going over. I want you to have some people in the street with signs within 30 minutes. He said, what do you? I said, they canceled the show. He said, what? I said, yeah, can you have? He said, I'll have some people there. So I dressed up. I went over, and I got in the office. I'm sitting with the president, and we're talking. I said, this is wrong. I said, this is business now. Forget race. This is business. This is wrong. You have no black shows on the network. And I said, and they were saying they're used to things happening and nobody really giving them a whole lot of stuff. I said, black people aren't going to take this, without some kind of, and I know your network is primarily aimed at the middle-aged white American at that time, CBS. I said, but they're not going to take this without some sort of resistance. I said, look out the window. So
I love it.
And looked out the window, and lo and behold, there were about 35 people running around saying something with signs they had painted. He sat down. He said, So it's going to be like that. I said, yeah, it's going to be like that. I said, and you and I know this business now. I said, and you and I know what happens when these things go down. You take care of people. You take care of people who follow the company line. I'm willing to follow the company line, but you got to take care of me. And he looked at me, and we had an understanding. Okay. And from that point on, I ended up working with CBS. I had 2 shows in development, an hour show and a half-hour show at the same time. I thought the half-hour show was going to go. And we ended up getting Snoops, 13 on-the-air commitment for this hour show that was quite expensive. And I bought the farm, and I quit show business.
You didn't quit. You quit them.
I quit for about 3-4 years. I sold my Mercedes, my house, bought a farm in Charlottesville and a tractor, and I moved gravel from one place of the 70-acre farm to the other for 3 years. I even didn't have a TV in my house. I wouldn't allow a TV in. I wanted to cleanse my spirit of the system. And then I came back and I formed United Image Entertainment, started making movies.
Okay, so a little retreat, but yeah, we need that. We need that. Yeah. I think Tanya has a question. Here she comes.
Hi, I'm here. So we have a Facebook question, Mr. Reid, from Dominique Pierre, that's asking, when you were creating that evergreen content we were just speaking about, did you know it would still translate all these years later? Did you know you're creating work that would still resonate with people?
Yes. And you know it, and I know it. And of course, the dominant culture knows it. Our culture and our history is incredible. When you travel and when I am in Ethiopia and I began to read about the greats, Haile Selassie and Milenik and all these incredible people who ran an empire. Ethiopia in 3,000 years has never been ruled by anybody white at any level of government, president, vice president, sanitary chapter, department, it's always been run by Ethiopians. It's never been conquered and it's never been colonialized. So in history of that country is so unknown because the dominant culture don't want to say, wait a minute, they should be, don't tell anybody, these people, because may give other Africans an idea that they can do it. So when you see this history, it just makes you excited. I mean, every time I go there, I find stories. I'm going to do a documentary on aviation, and there's a brother, graduate of Tuskegee, who Haile Selassie recruited when they came, most people don't remember because we don't remember or we don't read those kind of things. But Haile Selassie came to America several times. And one time he went to Harlem and gave a great speech. And he said, would you please come and join me in fighting the fascist Italians? And if you do, we will bring you over, we'll set you up, and you join us in our struggle. Well, thousands of Black Americans left Harlem and other places and joined the Ethiopian struggle, and they defeated the Italians in 1930, I think 35, 36. In the Second War, they defeated them the first time. And this young man went over and helped them build the Ethiopian Air Force, and built the first plane and crashed the first plane. Haile Selassie almost had him put away, but he built another one, and he got it flying, created the Air Corps, and took down more Italian other planes than anybody else in aviation history. And then he stayed and was one of the founders of Ethiopian Airlines, an American. Nobody knows this guy. So,
Wow.
You have these. The same thing happened in France in World War I. A gentleman who just hanging out in Europe, a lot of brothers got tired of dealing with the crap back here. And they've been traveling for years. And this in 1914 or 15, this young brother who got it from Cleveland, just got fed up, ends up in Paris, watches the first plane fly across the Eiffel Tower. This was after Frank Lloyd, the Wright brother. And he saw this plane, followed it, and became a pilot, and helped fight and create the French Air Corps, and was one of the most highly decorated. He shot down the Red Baron, didn't kill him, but these stories. Bessie Coleman. Right. These are incredible stories, and they are our stories.
Yes,
we should be telling them. We should be telling our stories. Stop running to the man. Go, oh, please tell this story. Why won't they tell our story? Because they're not interested. And why would we make you always happy and make you feel that you can conquer the world?
Exactly.
You're going to be a good slave if you think you can go and be the slave master.
Well, that's a whole nother night of conversation. But
it's our history.
It is. Let's talk about the documentary art form. You said you love docs. I love docs.
Yes.
What is it about the construction of the production of a documentary? Because it is so, it can go any way, right? Yes. It could take any length of time. You've got to be in it. You've got to be passionate about it. What are the elements that you love so much about documentary filmmaking?
Well, I think it's the perfect genre for a storyteller. And especially one like myself who's so all over the story. I want to be, I want to have in control of it. I want to tell it the way I want to tell it. And of course, in movies, there's so many working parts and so many other people involved that it's difficult that your vision can stay the way you intend it. But in documentaries, your vision and the cost factor as well. When I had my studio, I put so much money in the studio. I didn't have the kind of money. We made about 2 or 3 films that we financed ourselves, but it was the documentary that we were able to get grants. We were able to hustle and raise the $50 or $75 or $100,000 or whatever it took to do them. And whatever it took to do them is what we would do them for. That it made it. I said, suddenly I can be active. I can tell these stories the way I want to tell them. And then when I looked at, I have to say that Ken Burns and his way of telling stories was, we learn from people who do it well, the masters. And I looked at the way he did it. I'm going, yeah, that format is, it helps you because this guy had one photo. Right. But 20 shots out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, I can save money. I don't have to try to
pan and zoom. Yeah.
His formula was perfect for somebody like me who had limited funds, but was eager to tell stories. So that drew me to it. And then you pick the kind of stories, to answer that young lady's question more directly, you pick the kind of stories that are evergreen. That I'm running on the network this week. We try to put something up fresh every week. This week, I'm telling the story again about the bombing of Tulsa in 21.
Mhm.
And that story has been reawakened because of the dominant culture and The Watchmen, that great series that ran on HBO.
Yeah.
But I did that story about 15 years ago. And when nobody,
I missed that.
yeah, I did that 15 years ago. Well, it's showing on the network. You can see it.
Yeah.
And, I did that story 15 years ago. Now you say, how did I come up with the story? Real simple. I got a call from my partner at that time, Bob Johnson called me. We were in business together to make movies. He said, pick up the Sunday's paper, because I was living at my farm then. I said, why? He said, look at Ripley's Believe It or Not. I said, what? So I go get the New York Times. I look at Ripley's Believe It or Not, and they had, I don't know if they have it now. I haven't seen the funny papers. I don't know when. But they used to have this thing, Ripley's Believe, and they'd had like a little cartoon about three stories, real small stories about Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
And it said, first time bombs were dropped on American soil. When was the question? And of course, everybody thought Pearl Harbor. Well, Pearl Harbor wasn't really American soil. It wasn't a state then. It said Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, when they bombed I lost you again, they bombed the black community of Tulsa.
Black Wall Street.
And I went like, well, it wasn't called. They just said the black community.
Right.
I went, oh, I've got to find this out. So I did my research and got some more hounds on it. And we saw this incredible. And I jumped on a plane. I flew to Tulsa. And out of it, I got a journalist with me, Dwayne Wickham, who was a columnist, a journalist and columnist for USA Today. And I went down and started interviewing these people, all of which are dead now. Some of the most incredible stories that I have in my piece. And it blew me away. Matter of fact, my friend, the late Johnny Cochran, was working on reparations before he passed away. And I remember him calling me one day, said, send me that video. And I said, yeah. And I sent him a video, and it was used in a court case just before he died. That was the last thing he was working on, was reparations.
Yes.
So now, of course, the man found it, and it's very important again. So I'm not mad at it. I think I'm glad that it's back in the news. So I'm running a retrospective of that piece.
Okay. Oh, we're going to look for it.
Yeah.
For sure.
In the promised land.
For sure. I was wondering, for our younger generation of filmmakers, I know they have to get out and do it, get your iPhone, get whatever, and go do it. But in the time of COVID, where other people on set are going to look at them crazy because they don't have a COVID nurse or a COVID person, which in the guilds and non-guilds, but in the guilds, I think we're kind of figuring out that boost the budget 20% or higher.
More, yeah.
I mean, what do we tell our younger directors and visionaries?
Listen, we're in the magic business.
Yeah.
I mean, we make magic. All this stuff is make-believe. Hollywood doesn't exist in reality the way we think it is. We know that. I did a film, surprisingly, a few months ago. It was the first film that was shot, I believe, I know television film, shot under the new COVID rules, COVID rules in Nashville. It was excruciating. It was unbelievable. A TV movie, but we had to be tested every 48 hours.
Oh, Lord.
3 weeks in a bubble on quarantine. You're talking 80, 90 people. Those tests cost $100 a piece.
Yes.
And so I felt for the producers of that show. It turned out to be a very nice Christmas movie, but I know they didn't make any money. But who we are, we do these things, whoever we are, and we in it to the end. And I felt for him, and I realized this is the future of movie making. Now, how do I, a guy who has limited funds but big ideas, make it work? And the way I do it is to be, first of all, you have to create your own reality. You can't do it in someone else's reality. So in my reality, I have to keep my productions at a level of which I can control. I'm talking no more than 3 or 4 people.
Yep.
In whatever I'm doing, and keep it. I have a studio in Richmond, a smaller one than the first one, but nonetheless, we have 3 standing sets and we can shoot in here, and nobody else is allowed in here. I go from my home, I come here. My associate, Trevon, he goes from his home, he comes here. He just sent him out to LA to shoot something. We both were scared. He came back, he quarantined himself. And we got that done.
Nice.
You have to control your environment. That's the only way you can do it. You have to control it with costs, and you have to control it with safety. You have to be. Our business is not worth going out and dying for. That's for sure.
That's true.
But I think you have to be. We're in the magic business. You got to be a magician.
I love it.
You do it the way the system. If you try to, I want to go. I need 20 extras. I need. Well, then I'm sorry. If you can't afford that,
Right.
don't.
Not my movie.
What happens if somebody comes down today? Daphne is working on a project, and they shut down because somebody had COVID.
Oh
And
no.
nobody can go in there. People had to sit in their cars until they did some tracing. This is a new reality. I can't go. Believe me, if we were not quarantined, I'd be somewhere in the world. I'd be shooting in Africa, or I'd be in the Caribbean. I'd be shooting. I don't want to be here in
Right.
Richmond doing this.
Richmond, we love you, but
I'm sorry. I got my place
Gotta
here. I
get
come
out,
back.
stretch.
Yeah, I got all my stuff here. But
Right.
where I want to be is behind a camera or with a small crew somewhere on the continent of Africa, shooting some story about some incredible person who did incredible things. That's what I want. And until that happens, what I'm gonna do? Just sit home and twiddle my thumbs? No.
Right.
I'm gonna
You
create.
gotta run a network.
I'm gonna create, run a network, and create stuff. We just shot something. We're gonna shoot something next week. Just 2 or 3 people,
Right.
including talent, and we work together. And everybody's tested. And you can't come and work if you don't have some testing involved. That's what you got to do.
That's my ideal crew size. I love it. I love it. We're still here. We're right here. I think Tanya has one final question.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So I'm loving this conversation. We appreciate you for the work you created and continue to create, shedding light on our history as Black people. So we have a question from Roland Garrison from Facebook. He's saying there are so many stories similar to Tulsa. Is there a chance for a documentary series of that nature, telling more of our history in these stories?
Well, I mean, there's so many. He's right. There's so many stories. New Orleans, Tulsa, Rosewood. I mean, it's on and on and on and on.
East St. Louis, everything.
Our Holocaust here in this country has not been documented to the way
Nope.
it should. And also our conquering part of us, the history of the Haitian Revolution, the New Orleans, and what was going on. I mean, we lost the majority of battles, but we won quite a few. Those stories need to be told. It shouldn't always be told by the massacre or by what happened, but there's some incredible stories. I did a brief one on Pocahontas Island, a place in Petersburg, Virginia, where a group of people left. They said, we had enough of this. I can't deal with it. We're going to Africa. And they went over and took some land and made Liberia. It's the only country in Africa that was colonized by Americans. Black Americans, go figure. So the stories are incredible. We just have to get together. And also we have to support. If people had really gotten behind Frank's Place, it'd still be on. Our people, if our people get behind something, it stays on. They do it in music. I have to say, music, my son's in the music business, and I'm not just saying that because of him. But the music business really has supported itself, and not always in my estimation the right way, but it has supported itself and created mega empires for music people, performing artists. We didn't do that in television. We didn't do that. A lot of people knocked Tyler Perry and that. I never did. I always thought, he did what I was trying to do, and he made it work big time. I didn't make it work. So now, should I be mad with him? No, I should be mad at myself for not realizing the things that he realized. Know your audience, feed your audience, control your distribution, all the things that he did. I'm trying to be a mogul. I'm trying to impress Hollywood. The hell with Hollywood. I should have been impressing my people. And who was his people? Black women.
Mhm.
Black women who had been disenfranchised by their men, by everybody else. And he started making Medeas and Mama Don't and all that stuff. And lo and behold, he's a billionaire.
Yep.
You know, I'm trying to show Hollywood I can make great movies. I can do this. You give me millions. And he's making movies for 150, 200,000. And he built an empire. So I'm not mad with him. I admire what he's accomplished. I'm not a critic to get into who does what best, but because we all make mistakes and we all are fortunate. But yeah, there's stories out there, guys. You gotta, but also here's another thing too, that I was an artist in resident at Morgan State for a few years. And I can tell you this, we got to understand, we got to have skills.
Yeah.
Just because you have an iPhone doesn't make you a producer. Just because you know how to use apps. You know, I would tell the students in my class, I would say, look, yeah, there are apps that do lighting and all that stuff. But if you don't know how to do what the app does, you shouldn't operate the app. Know how to do what the app does without the app. That makes you a better user of the app, you know. But we now have it so that anybody with an iPhone, especially these newer generation iPhones and iPad, can shoot a movie and make it look kind of decent, but they aren't storytellers. You know, I think you have to be, I always tell all the students in my class, learn a few things well. If you know After Effects, anybody who is a master of After Effects will get a job in America at any production outfit. Matter of fact, if you're a master, call me. I need you.
Right. Me too. I always tell my students that too. Learn After Effects. Learn the extras. Yes.
I mean, and you're sitting home now, COVID, get on one of these. You can learn anything you want on the internet. YouTube, you find a teacher how to do this stuff. You're worth your weight in gold. If you can write well, I mean, write well. I'm not talking about putting words after one another. If you can write well and tell a story, you're worth your weight in gold. If you can edit, and I don't mean using apps, iMovie and all this other crap. I'm talking about edit.
The craft of editing.
Telling a story with editing, not just cutting things and dissolving. They got all that stuff out. Back in the day when I made my first few movies, you knew before you went in that a dissolve was going to cost you $1,500. You couldn't have a dissolve in a movie unless you really figured it out.
You're taking us back.
Yeah. Something. Now
we'd have to send it to the lab. Everything. Yeah.
Optical labs. Everything. So all you can do is cut. There was no dissolve. And so nowadays, you know, everything is so easy. So it's causing people to be, excuse my French, half-ass storytellers.
Yeah. Because
they don't know their skills. You have your skills. So when a company comes in with a lot of money and they want to make a movie, say $5 million and up, they expect everybody on that crew to be at the best, at the top of whatever level they're working. Whether you're best boy, whatever you are. You know, you had to be at that level of expertise that warrants the pay you're asking for. You can't go and say, I'm a producer. I'm really good at this. I produce something, you show them some student film and expect to be treated with the same respect. And that's why when you see a lot of these crews, there aren't that many of us on the crew because we're not doing that homework back home. Now, yes, there's racism. They ain't going to have but so many, period. But you want to be the one that they do have. And the only way you get there is to master your craft. I've been studying to be a lighting person for stills. Forget movies. I can light a decent scene. But I've been studying it for years behind the masters, Johnny Simmons and all these people. I watch, I study. I'm doing something now that I really don't want to do. I'm using Adobe Premiere to edit because we have so much stuff on the network. I'm have to do the graphics. I got my partner, Trevon, he's editing. So I'm gonna sit here and go, I'm the leader of this thing. Good luck, everyone. I gotta get down and edit. I don't want to have to relearn. It's changed so much.
It has. We'll compare notes.
It's a pain and you know where. But
it'll grow on you. Trust me.
You young people have got to learn your craft.
Yeah.
Now's the time, you know, not talk about it. You know, it's like everybody, oh yeah, I'm an editor, I'm a this, I'm a that. Show me your work. And then you look at the work and you go, God, like I can do that with an app. I don't need.
And it was done with an app. Yeah. Well, I want to say that, yes, let's go back about, 5 minutes. Yes,
Mhm.
Tyler Perry knows his audience, but I got to say, you knew us because we saw us in your projects. So I don't think you were trying to impress Hollywood. You were trying to impress Hollywood with us.
I was trying to show Hollywood us.
That's what it was. But you knew us, and
I am
just
you.
know that.
I am
You are us. Yeah. So, but yeah, but we could talk all night. I can't believe the time has gone, and we're gonna wrap. I mean, I just can't believe it because I want to talk to you forever. I'm just
Well, I
loving
can.
this.
I got
You
nothing
have
to do with
so
Roman binge watch, but it's either here or
no, I love it. Hey, Tanya, did you have more, or are you rapping with us?
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm rapping.
I know, I'm so sad, but I want to
well, let's
tell.
do another one. Let's
I
do
know.
another one. I'll have you
Yes,
on my
let's
next
do
one. How
another
about
one.
that?
Next week.
Well, look, I want to have you on my because I did a thing. I have a thing up that we're trying called She Speaks.
Oh,
I want to give Black women a platform
Yes.
to
yeah.
not only just be artists, but to speak their minds unencumbered.
Love
And we have a young woman up today. We just put up this week. Ama Ata Adia from Ghana. She's a legend. She is a scholar, poet, a writer, and she speaks. Something I saw her do years ago. I had to reprise and then talk about it. I want to give a platform to women because in all the classes I've been doing, majority of the people in class are women.
Mm-hmm.
Women see the power of the media a little more than men. Men use it as a dress up or the power of the money and I'm the baddest of this. Women see the power in it from how it will lift up themselves and their children and their culture. And I see more women getting into business and sticking with it than young men at this point. So I want to have women have an opportunity. So maybe we do this thing with a few more women, and I'll get out of the way, and let you guys express yourself. So any women out there who has something to say, send me something. If it's decent, it'll be on She Speaks.
I love it.
Yes.
All right, that was a
Fantastic.
call, everybody.
Check out She Speaks. Yeah, check out She Speaks. You'll see the direction. Nikki Giovanni is going to be up, I think, next week if I can get it edited.
Oh, I don't know if I
Incredible.
can go after her.
Oh yes, come on.
She-
Believe me, she would tell you go ahead.
World. She's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Well, I love it. Well, I just want to tell our audience that it has been amazing to speak to this guy who I have watched my whole life. I mean, honestly, I mean, that is how I knew I could do something. Just
Wonderful.
even if it was a little something is because he was doing it, and he did it his way. I loved it. Mr. Reid, this is amazing. I want to just invite everybody to watch GFN TV. You get our Indie Fuxion Film Showcase, and it only lasts till December 15th, and it's free. You get a Legacy of a People network. I mean, you can just watch hours of programming. So just leave the TV on and the computer's on gfntv.com
And
because
speak to us. Tell them,
Yes.
give us feedback.
Feedback, comment,
Yeah.
come on, She Speaks. So yeah, let us know. But yeah, we literally have content from all over the world.
All over the world.
Subtitled, everything. I mean, you're only going to get it here, so it's and for free. So it's really amazing. So I'm so
And
honored to
animation
be on
coming
you.
up. first of
Animation. Oh my goodness.
the year. Yeah, animation.
Terrific artists behind the animation too. So yeah, so I want to thank you so much, Mr. Reid. This is fantastic. I'll remember this for the rest of my life.
Thank you.
Okay, and then thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Dee, behind the scenes, doing the magic behind the scenes. Thank you, Mike, GFN TV, Mike and Cliff. And yeah, stay in touch with us, everybody. And we're out.
Okay.
Bye.
Hello, I'm Tim Reid, and this is Legacy of a People. What would you say to your fellow countrymen who
who have moved abroad and maybe thinking about coming back.
Oh, that was nice.
Are we back saying